witness of his sufferings. Romans 8:18. I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the esteem that is to be revealed in us. We looked at all the Hebrew words for suffering and how excruciating it is, all encapsulating and completely devastating and torturous. Torture. And yet what does he say? It's not even worth comparing. It's a drop compared to the amazing esteem that is to be revealed in us. So if we go through that process, what's going to be revealed in us? The suffering is not worth anything. It's just for a short time if you give over. 2 Corinthians 1:5. Because, here we go, because as the sufferings of Messiah overflow in us, his sufferings, because as I said, we weren't there to witness it. We can't just, oh, he did that, so I do this. We can't just copy him and mimic him because we weren't there. But when we read his word, we get an idea what he did, what he experienced. And what does it say? It overflows in us. The sufferings of Messiah will overflow in us, not coming from external, inside us. We will suffer. So our helpfulness also overflows through Messiah. As the sufferings of Messiah overflow in us, so our helpfulness also overflows through Messiah. The more the suffering overflows, the more helpful we become. What does that tell you? The more fruit you bear, the better behaved you are, the nicer person you are, the more you suffer, because you understand. And if we suffer pressure, it is for your calling and deliverance being worked out in enduring the same suffering which we also suffer. So, talking to the other believers. Philippians 3:10, to know him. So this is what it's actually about. This is what the overflowing of sufferings is for, so that we will know him. Because to know him, let's go to the beginning of the sentence. It's a long sentence. What is more, I even count all to be lost because of the excellence of the knowledge of Messiah Yahushua my Master, for whom I have suffered the loss of all. For whom I have suffered the loss of all, and count them as rubbish. So even though I've lost everything, it's okay, because I count it all as rubbish anyway, compared to him. I count it as rubbish in order to gain Messiah. Everything else was rubbish to him, and he didn't mind having to lose it. Might have hurt at the time when you lose things, people, places, things, reputation, whatever, you might hurt at the time, but you realize it was rubbish anyway. And you gain Yahushua and be found in him, not having my own righteousness. Where did our own self-righteousness get us to? Not having your own righteousness, which is of the law. So we're not even talking about fleshly, worldly stuff here. We're talking about Torah laws now. Torah of sin and death. Law, but that which is found through belief in Messiah, a righteousness that is found in belief in Messiah, the righteousness which is from Yahuwah on the basis of belief. What for? To know him and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings. Interesting wording there. Fellowship of his sufferings and being conformed to his death. Interesting as well. It doesn't say be conformed to him or be conformed to his life or be conformed to his love or conformed to his death. Why is it worded like that? What's the most phenomenal thing that he ever did on this earth for us? And there are lots of things. The world couldn't hold all the books of all the amazing things he did, but we are not to be conformed to other things regarding, but to his death. Being conformed to his death. Pick up your stake and follow me. If somehow I might attain to the resurrection from the dead. This is Paul still hoping and praying that look what he did. Look what he achieved for Yahushua. And yet he's not arrogant. He's saying, hopefully I will attain the resurrection from the dead. Speaking about the first resurrection. So, not that I've already received it. So he's not presuming anything. But my point here is just to know him. How are we going to know him? By associating with his suffering. And this is all under the banner of patience still, remember? What we're going to go through in our cocoon and what we have to bear with other people. If we're going to be like Yahushua, imagine the suffering. Imagine knowing that he is Elohim, knowing that he walked among us, seeing the state of his creation. Imagine the suffering. I mean, why do you think it says a couple of times he just wept? It doesn't even say why, he just wept. Like his emotions couldn't even contain themselves. He was so sad for what had happened to his creation. What does that tell you about his heart and the love he has? And they didn't even know who he was, didn't even recognize him. For us to know him, we have to get in touch with his suffering. So this word patience is very important, because patience is suffering. Patience is not putting your foot down, losing your cool, going off your face. Patience is suffering, and the more you suffer, you'll know Yahusha. And more importantly, he will know us. We want that, don't we? Isn't that the intimate peace, the intimate relationship we're talking about? See how each word keeps getting deeper on the journey, from the love to the joy to the peace, the intimate peace to the patience. If we're patient with one another, we will have a much deeper knowledge of him and know who he really is. So we know him through his sufferings. It's the most important thing we could want. Let's summarize this, guys. Patience, patience, patience. Let's bring this a bit higher. Let's get out of there. Patience. Patience with others. Patience with family. Patience with friends. Patience with our clients, customers, workmates. Patient with the traffic and the traffic light. No road rage, no swearing and going off your face at people in the traffic. The internet connection, our connection in Cairns here is completely rubbish. Patience, yeah? Patience with the process we're in. Patience with Yahusha as the Elohim of all things whirling around in our lives. He's in control of all the things whirling around in our lives. Patience waiting on his return with great expectation. To trust him, keep our cool, keep our equilibrium, keep stable, stability, no matter what happens. Can we go there? Go into another fruit of righteousness that we must produce and actually behave if we want to truly experience his love, joy, and peace. If we want to experience his love, joy, and peace, you've got to be doing the patience. It's vital. Yahusha, and you could say, oh, I'm not going to make it, Mark. I'm a feral. I'm a totally impatient person. The older I get, the more impatient I get. I hear you, mate. I completely hear you. I'm exactly in the same boat. I went through the study and went, oh, here we go. I'm the most impatient person there is, in the traffic, with the internet, the computer, the kids, the wife, the children, everybody. I'm impatient with everything. Can't stand waiting for anything. So I hear you if this is how you feel. That's why we're strapped up in straitjackets in the cocoon chrysalis. That's why we're getting the beating we're getting until it all just drops. Said that up in the Hebrew word. Let it die, mate. Let it die. Drop. So I'm not preaching this to you high and lofty over you. I'm completely in the swill with you. We have to die to all of this. Yahusha will orchestrate tests during our day. Did you know that? Yahusha is going to orchestrate tests. Job was tested. All his followers and believers and men and women of belief, all of throughout the scripture, they're tested, whether they come directly from him or whether he allows them to happen. He orchestrates everything during our day to test our patience in order to prove our love and obedience for him. He has every right to do it. He's the potter, we are the clay. We follow him into the death and transition of all fleshly mindsets and habits, into a battle of dissolving all this for him. Got to dissolve it all. It is the most fierce agony you will ever feel. The death of ourself. Everybody needs to know this when they're going to the door, when they're being told what you need, what the path is going to be like for eternal life. They need to know this. It's the most fierce agony you will ever feel. It's death. Many people had to experience literal death. So far in our world today, if you're in a safe country, you may not experience literal death, but you've got to experience death itself, and death is completely agonizing. Death of ourself, our way, our plans, our desires, Every thought, every judgment, every word that he doesn't like, he will beat out of us until we stop. Pound it out of you until you stop. Give over and change. Let it burn up and dissolve. Every candidate who chooses to cross over, transition into the eternal reign of Yahushua Elohim, will go into this childbirth, travailing experience, where the old is dissolved until new first fruit life comes forth. And until it starts coming forth, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, trustworthiness, gentleness, self-control, until it starts coming and becoming second nature to us, and we're in Yahushua's reign and maneuvering and behaving like this, we won't be allowed out until we're willing to do this. We won't be allowed out of the cocoon. We won't be allowed out of the chrysalis until this life comes forth. He promises to finish the work he started. For those of you who just feel down, depressed, problems, can't get through this, I understand completely. He promises to finish the work he started. So hang in there. Don't faint, don't stop, and certainly don't go back. A dog goes back to its vomit. A pig goes back to washing in the mud. Don't go back. Don't go back to your old sins. Hang in there. Endure. Stand against every negative attack and trust Yahushua's process. Trust him. He's a real person. He lives inside you. Trust him. He never leaves us or forsakes us. And he loves us so very much. But he will achieve his goal in you. So if you've come from a religious experience where you thought that Elohim is just all loving, Yahushua's just love, 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 love. He is. And his love is tough. It's pounding love because he wants to marry you, and he can't marry you unless you're like-minded, unless you are equally yoked. You can't. You've got to be perfect. You've got to be clean, spotless, blameless. So continue in patience. Guys, continue in the patience. For we will only know Yahushua through our suffering and endurance. It's actually his suffering. We're not, once you finish suffering from your own stupid consequences, you're not experiencing your own sufferings anymore. They're his sufferings. Because you're not suffering because of you, hopefully. You're suffering because of him. They hated him, they're going to hate you. Once you've come to the end of all your stupid habits that you're getting suffering and consequences for, you then go on a journey of suffering for him. And you can endure that because life is full of suffering anyway. Why not suffer for something worth having? You're going to suffer anyway. If you go backwards, you're going to suffer. If you just walk away from Yahushua, you're really going to suffer. Life is suffering. That's how we know we're in him, because we're suffering for him. The difference is when you're suffering for him, you have the joy. You have peace. Peace is a stillness and an intimacy. And joy is an excitement and a happiness. And of course, you're able to love him and love others. So see how the fruit all connects? So we'll only know him through our suffering and endurance, and we are to count it all joy and rejoice, bringing forth the love, joy, and peace. How else will people see Yahushua on this earth? How else? His reign is not of this world, but his reign is in our hearts. So the only way people are ever going to connect with him is through you and through me. So this was a blowout. This fruit, patience, because out of all of them so far that we've been through, I think this is my worst one. I've had moments of love and joy and peace. I don't have a lot of patience, never have, and I hope I'm taking this one on seriously. Patience, yeah? I can do it and you can do it. We can have patience. You just have to check your thoughts and just get rid of them all. When the thoughts come to you saying, oh, hurry up. Would you stop talking? Would you shut up? Would you move along? Would you hurry up and drive? Anything they're thoughts that come to you. You just got to get rid of them and calm thyself. Brothers and sisters, love you very much. We'll be back for the next fruity episode. Bye.